You got this. We're so often filled with sent messages of fear. You got this. Slow down, breathe. Clarity is everything.
Hello and welcome back to In Search of 42. My name is, of course, Felix Becker, and I am your very own success coach on this journey we call life. This week, I am really excited to share with you the conversation with Dave Gieselman. Dave started his life as a chef in professional kitchens, but he has since turned to breath coaching. And exactly what that means, you will find out in this conversation between the two of us. As before, if you like this content, please like, rate and review, share, subscribe, do all those things because it helps me reach more people who just like you are looking for the answers to life, the universe, and everything. If you want to work with Dave, his contact information is in the description below, and if you want to work with me, my contact information is in the description below as well. But with all that out of the way, let's get right into my conversation with Dave Gieselman. All right, Dave. So good to see you again. Thanks for doing this. I don't know if you know, but what I'm trying to do with these conversations is show people who coaches are, what they do, and how they can help them. So let's get right into it. Who are you?
My name is Dave Gieselman, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's an honor. It's always fun to connect with other coaches. So, my name is Dave Gieselman. I am a flow state coach and breathwork facilitator. I work with groups, individuals, and organizations. I teach people all of the stress management, nervous system management, time management, task management, overwhelm management skills that are vital in Michelin starred kitchens because that's my background. I cooked professionally for 30 years here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, right. So that's the just incredible part of your story. I think is you come from a professional kitchen and now you're doing breath work. That's so fascinating. So tell us about your story in the kitchen. How did you get it to be a chef, and what was that like?
It was something I always wanted to do. It was the only thing I ever cared about. I started cooking very, very young. Like, why is there an actual child in the kitchen? Why does he have a knife? Where are his parents? Who okayed any of this? Like that. That was my beginning, and uh, it's a stressful environment. And it's a crazy, chaotic environment. Which, by the way, is why most cooks get into cooking initially. I was very attracted to the chaos. I was attracted to the noise. I was attracted to, and it was like giving an ADHD kid Ritalin. It was very normalizing for my brain. I got exposed to a professional kitchen, and it just felt like the way the inside of my head sounded. And so it was very normalizing environment for me. Uh, and it's a stressful environment, and like so many other young cooks, young chefs, I attempted better living through chemistry. It did not work for me. I was in my early 20s, and substances had to come off the table as an option for me for nervous system regulation. I just couldn't do it. I had a really, really severe alcohol and drug problem in my youth and in my young adulthood, and by 24, I was completely sober.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's definitely a very raw and honest perspective on that living. I mean, I am a terrible cook. My kids actually have banned me from the kitchen. As a matter of fact, a little over a year ago, I set my kitchen on fire. So I that's a place I absolutely should not be in. So that's where our paths definitely differ. But my outside perspective, to professional chefs, definitely is that it's a very stressful environment, a very competitive environment, even. So, um, what drew you to that?
Uh, I don't know. I really don't. It was just I'm drawn to I'm attracted to chaos. I'm attracted to intensity. And it's why, and if you are, heads up, if you are drawn to chaos and intensity in one area of your life, you were probably drawn to intensity and chaos in other areas of your life. Look, I was a 20-year-old line cook with a pound of dope and a handgun in my backpack in my locker. I was sort of in and out of jail and doing that stuff. And when all of that kind of came to a head, and I had to at some point decide if I wanted to be a serious criminal or I wanted to be a serious cook, and I really had to choose. There was sort of a BCAD line, and I had to make the conscious choice what I wanted to do. And when I moved forward with cooking, I still had to find a way to regulate my nervous system. I still had to find ways to remain in that environment because you work these crazy hours and it's intense and it's long and you're running adrenaline, and then it all stops and you shut it all down and you scrub it down, and then you try to get home and get to bed because you're doing it all again tomorrow. And so the dealing with the extreme highs, the extreme lows, the go, then stop, now get some sleep, now come back, now go, it's crazy making. And so I went diving into neuroscience in my mid 20s, and I started doing trail running. I got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I started getting into meditating and breath work and all of these things. I began studying Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the author of Flow, Stephen Kotler, the author of Stealing Fire, and just began this sort of journey in peak performance, in how to be in NBA level high performance environments day in and day out without substances. And really that was the impetus for all of it. Is I want to be in this environment. Substances are not one of my choices anymore. What's going to work for me?
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So I'm kind of curious. So in your 20s, when you made that decision, or when you came to that decision point, do I want to be a serious criminal or do I want to be a serious chef? What sparked that transformation at that age? And the reason I'm asking is because so many people go the other route. What made you go down the route of saying, no, I actually want to be a serious chef. I want to get away from the substances. I actually want to improve my professional career. When so many people are drawn to the substances because they're addicting. I mean, let's face it, they're addicting substances and they give you energy you didn't think you had otherwise. So what was it? There's obviously something that was different for you to go that route.
It is not the answer you think it is. The answer is donuts. The answer is actually donuts. So I was homeless. I was I had a drinking problem that was going to kill me. I had a cocaine problem that was definitely going to kill me. And I walked past, walking down an alley, and I bummed a couple cigarettes off these two guys, and they asked me if I wanted to come inside where they were, and I said, "What's going on in there?" And they said, "It's a 12-step program." I said, "What's that?" They said, "Don't worry about that. Hey, we have free donuts. Do you like donuts?" And I'm like, "What? Well, what do you got going on?" They're like, "That's a 12-step program, but come on in. We got free stuff." And literally, I got sober on the promise of free donuts. I walked into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous on the promise of free donuts, not knowing what it was, not knowing anything about it. I had not made like this decision in my life that day to get sober, but I was my life was out of control. I was completely lost. I was in this crazy situation, and these people were kind to me. These people didn't care that I smelled, didn't care that I was way drunk at the time. They just invited me and they were just kind to me. And I found, just like I found kitchens, I found a group of people that took me, warts and all. They took me. They met me where I was. They didn't have a bunch of questions about why I was the way I was, uh, and I was just fine. And they were just kind to me. And I sort of fell into sobriety on the promise of donuts. And once I got sober and my life really took off, just the other side wasn't attractive anymore. The other side was there was nothing there. I had opportunities. I had this girl liked me, right? And and all of a sudden, a year down the road, I was in a relationship. I was working in these great places. I had these amazing relationships, and and that old life, there was just nothing, there was nothing attractive about it, there was nothing interesting about it. Like this was the, there was the road I chose, and then the other road just no longer mattered anymore.
Yeah. The funny thing about the donuts is that's sort of similarly how I ended up in the Air Force, because the recruiter came to our medical school with pizza, and medical students are broke, and so the pizza was delicious. I remember Sergeant Driscoll brought us Papa John's, and I love me a good Papa John's, and so I stuffed my belly with pizza, and the next thing you know is I'm signing a contract to join the Air Force. So it's very similar
Food is an
fortuitous.
amazing motivator.
Yeah, yeah. But so speaking of food, so this happened. You started to clean your life up and really become the chef that you were meant to be. You still have 20 more years of a chef career ahead of you. So what developed in that time then? You started getting a little bit into neuroscience, but you were still cooking.
Yeah, I was still cooking. So I was still cooking. I was working at a high end fish house in Pasadena. I ended up going to Le Cordon Bleu when they had a campus here in Los Angeles. I got the opportunity to go work at Spago, Peninsula Beverly Hills, and I just got into these insane environments where people were really high performing. People were really like doing stuff, and it was when I was at Spago, and I realized, I was, Wolfgang Puck was that, like, right there, like right there. We got celebrities, we got heads of state in the dining room. It was an insane environment. My anxiety level was so high, and I learned that there was a hike near me up in northeast Los Angeles. There was a hike called Echo Mountain, and it was, you park your car at the bottom of the hill, and you go up to the ruins of this old hotel, and you come back down, and it car door to car door. It's 5.8 miles. 1,500 feet of elevation gain. And I learned that if I ran that before my shift, ran up and ran down, I could regulate my like dopamine and my cortisol and my adrenaline that evening at work in this crazy high intensity, high competitive environment. And that was kind of the spark. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, I can stack my biology, I can stack my physiology behind my goals, because like Red Bull was not cutting it at that point. You just end up, jawed out and wired, and it wasn't going to work. And so that's what really kind of sparked. I'm like, oh, there's some physiology in play here. And I just went diving in, and I began studying like SEAL teams and extreme sports athletes. These guys, jumping the Great Wall of China on skateboards and BMX bikes, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Because they're not outliers as humans. They're not supermen. They're just doing different stuff with their physiology, doing different stuff with their mindset that allows them to perform at these crazy high levels. And I just wanted to know what it was. I figured if I could learn how the machine worked, then I could learn how to operate the machine at a really high level. And it wasn't about tricks. It wasn't about, hacks. I wasn't attempting to incorporate hacks. I was learning how to operate the machine at a really high level.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm curious. And I'm coming at this from my own personal experience. I have no experience with chefs. You're probably the first professional chef that I've ever had a conversation with. So, in my world, there's from the worlds, or at least the worlds that I've come from, if you try to do things outside of the norm and you're that outlier, you're kind of shunned away. People don't want to deal with you. So is that how things are in the chef world? Did you feel like an outlier because you were trying to improve your peak performance, or is that what chefs naturally do? They all try to be like those peak performance athletes, and that's just the norm within that culture.
In that culture, and Tony Bourdain talked about this a lot. Look, I don't care what you do. I don't care how you got to get there. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me what you do. If you got to do something weird, I don't want to know about it. Uh, but in a lot of places, it was like whatever you need to do to get the job done. In their kitchens I've worked in, where right before service they would pass around espresso to everybody. There were groups of guys that would take naps on their breaks right before the rush started. There would be guys who would sit there out back and pace and smoke cigarettes, like whatever you had to do. And everybody, like professional sports, like whatever your pregame ritual was what it was, and nobody had any business kind of questioning your deal. And certainly there were a lot of less than healthy pregame rituals, sort of less than legal pregame rituals that people did and people had. And in an environment like that, what if the results of that ritual were that you were sharp, your mind was on point, your food was on point, your performance was on point, then do whatever you got to do, right? Do it, and I've worked in lots of places where different people like way overshot the mark, and were more of a problem than they were worth. And I watch people get sent home for being like too spun up or whatever. But for the most part, when you get into this level of cooking, most people kind of know what they're doing. Like me, they've either completely burned out on substances and that's just no longer one of the things they can do. It's like like rock musicians of a certain age. At some point, you're either in AA or you're just not doing the thing anymore. Because at some point you realize the substances really aren't the answer to what you thought they were. And and that is, it's kind of a universal. There are the people who sort of do them recreationally, and then there are the people who use them as tools. And for the people who use substances as high performance tools, I have never met a person who didn't either just decide on their own that that was not something that was going to be effective for them, or they flamed out on it and lost it as an option. But yeah, it's all about, is what you're doing getting you through the shift in a high performance professional way.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think you're right. There's a lot of people who use substances, recreational on weekends and whatever, live your life how you want. But it's the people when you start using them as more as a medicine to try to cover up symptoms that's really where the problems then start. So I'm kind of curious. I do want to get into the mindset side stuff then and the breath work that you've come to discover. But before we leave the topic of food, I'm curious, and I come at this from my own medical background. Um, for you as a chef, where do you see how do we get to the modern American diet or the standard American diet, and where do we go wrong with food no longer being a staple of our health?
Whew, boy, is that a big question. And you know,
But maybe the question is, we know that we've gone wrong.
mm,
How can we fix it? Right? What should we do going forward to be better?
it's the same answer for so many things, and that is, we as a culture, America in particular, and Western cultures in a broader sense, but America in particular has placed its value and leveraged its future in corporate level capitalism. Like it's just it's what we've done. Our belief in sort of rugged individualism and our sort of praise of people who make money have like created this environment where the corporate farming, corporate food, corporate, the ingredients that are allowed in food in America is very different than the immediate ingredients that are allowed in food throughout Europe, and it is completely money based. And at the risk of diving into a political conversation, I will say, because I don't want to get into one. If you want to like have one with me afterwards, like we can do that, but I don't want to lose time and lose traction
No,
in this.
that's fair.
It's it is a socio-political challenge we have, and you can exchange food with healthcare, with mental health, with uh, uh, safety nets for poverty, with the housing market, with like you could exchange, you know, the modern American diet for all of the things that the rest of the world views as staples of health that have been completely uh, taken, privatized, taken over by corporations, and we just kind of have what we have, and it is going to require like a full scale overhaul of our values as a nation, as a society, to make much difference in that. I am optimistic and frustrated with a lot of things that we could equate with food in this way.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and I agree. Let's table the political discussion for now. I agree. We got more important things to get into. So, what did you learn throughout your own journey about all this neuroscience and this breath work, and like where did life take you with all of that?
So we'll go with the really basic version of this, and it's, you know, I speak a lot, and this is really kind of my favorite kind of place, and it boils down. I tell everybody this, so you don't need a lot of you don't need a lot of science background to understand this, and I certainly don't have a big science background. I've read as much as I can, but my understanding and my application of it is very much a layperson's understanding and application, and it boils down to the heart sends 60 times more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. If you want to control your brain state, you control your heart rate. If you want to control your heart rate, you control your respiration, right? The respiration is the one little lever into our autonomic nervous system that we get, right? And so when you are in your stress state, you're in fight or flight, you got this stressful thing going on, you got this anxiety thing going on. Most of us feel like we got one toe nailed to the ground. We're turning in circles. I know the list of things that I need to do, but it's hard to prioritize them. I'm afraid that if I do the wrong thing in the wrong order, it's all going to fall down. It feels like there's a lot riding on every single decision I make, and we end up just kind of stopping or procrastinating, and we can't move forward, right? So in that moment when we are wrapped around the axle, when we are stuck, we're in fight or flight, we're in our sympathetic nervous system. uh, all kinds of things are going on. There's a really good evolutionary reason why you feel like your head is stuck, and it's because when you are in your sympathetic nervous system, you lose access to your neocortex and your frontal lobe. Your brainstem and your amygdala are running the show. This is your lizard brain, your mammalian brain. Those parts of your brain are what's running the show. They don't have the capacity for language. They are only they are motion based, and they are designed to keep you safe. And that is it. They don't even have the capacity for language. They're not going to solve your problem. The reason for that is when you I'll take you back 50,000 years real quick. You're walking through a field. You've had an amazing day as a Paleolithic human. You've been eating nuts and berries and getting sunshine and commuting with your tribe, and everything is great. And you're heading down to the water to get to the stream to get some water, and a wolf pops up. And the wolf pops up, and you see the wolf, and you snap into fight or flight. And since taking on a wolf isn't the decision you're going to make, you bail, right? And you run. And when your only job in the universe is to escape the wolf, deep, complex, long range, abstract thinking does not serve you. In the same way that being super hungry, having to poop or pee real bad, being crazy horny also does not serve you. When you are in your sympathetic nervous system, when you are in fight or flight, the body shuts all of that down, right? Deep, complex, long range problem solving is gone because it doesn't help when you're trying to escape the wolf, which is why when we see people who spend a lot of time in stress, right? They develop these anxiety problems, but they also develop tummy problems, bathroom problems, bedroom problems. There's nothing wrong with being in fight or flight, but you're not supposed to live in it. So when we slow our heart rate down, when we slow our breathing down, intentionally slow our breathing down, we slow our heart rate down. When our heart rate slows down, the brain, which is freaked out about whatever thing we imagined is coming to kill us, because we're not being attacked by as many bears these days as we used to. We are experiencing very few actual existential threats in our day to day life, right? But when we slow our breath down, we slow our heart rate down. When we slow our heart rate down, our mind goes, "Hey, yo, what are you? I thought we were freaked out about the thing." And the heart goes, "No, dude, you're freaked out about the thing. We are just fine." And so as soon as the body tells the mind that the body is safe, the mind lets go of fear. We slow our breathing down. We drop out of our sympathetic nervous system into our parasympathetic. It's just the way the machine works. So when you're in that stress response, if you can take a moment, slow the breath down, slow the heart rate down, the heart will tell the mind that the body is safe. The mind drops out of the stress response. All of a sudden, your neocortex, your frontal lobe come back online. Most of us, when we are in a stressful environment, when we're in our stress response, we believe that if we can solve the problem, the stress level will decrease. The exact opposite is the truth. Once we decrease the stress level, we will have the capacity to solve the problem. And that's where we get into the breath work, right? Controlled breath. Controlled, the temperature's getting turned up, the pressure's getting turned up, the stress is getting turned up. And in my job, in your job, in corporate world, in leadership, in everything else, if as the stress levels get dialed up, our breath slows, what happens is we become the calmest person in the room. And the calmest person in the room, when all hell breaks loose, the calmest person in the room is the leader, always.
I love that. I have come through my own personal development journey, come to find box breathing, and I've definitely incorporated that into my life. Again, for the reasons that you mentioned, and yeah, I can tell you from my medical background, you're spot on. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which down regulates your heart rate, which then, like you said, down regulates your stress response. So you're spot on that. You didn't even need to go to medical school, right? You didn't spend $200,000 in medical school to learn all these things. So that's fantastic. So box breathing is something that's very simple for me to understand, and so that's something that I've incorporated. Are there maybe some other breathing exercises that you go through that are maybe better or simpler, or where somebody listens to this, like where could they start to incorporate this into their lives?
So I teach three types of breathing. The first is an intervention style, like you're stressed out. This is the moment where you're stressed out. You have to do something. And I learned this from Andrew Huberman. It's called a physiological sigh, right? And it is you take a great big deep full breath in and you fill the lungs. And when the lungs are full, then you take a few extra sips through the at the top. And then you hold. So you expand the lungs and then you hyper expand the lungs. And hold 15 seconds. And then a long, slow, controlled exhale. Then you do it again. All the way in, top it off, hold, and a long, slow, controlled exhale all the way out. If you feel calmer when you do that, it is not because it's a cool bar trick. It works because it has to. Your nervous system has to switch. It must. You are not offering it choices, right? When you do this, you have to go from your sympathetic to your parasympathetic. Once again, I wanted to know how the machine. I'm a chef. I'm a pragmatist, right? I need to know how the machine works. I don't like energies are great, meridians are great, chakras are great. All that stuff is great. As a pragmatist, I just want to know how the machine works. These things may be true, but it's way beyond me. I just want to know like how the machine works so that I can operate the machine the way I need to when I have to. So that's one. That's like intervention. Like I'm stressed out. I need something right now. You mentioned box breathing. Box breathing is a great breathing exercise. And if you don't know what box breathing is, it's 4, 4, 4, 4. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, repeat. I prefer the clarity breath, which is 4, 4, 6, 2. So it's inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, hold for 2. Rule of thumb is if your exhale is longer than your inhale, you're going down. If your inhale is longer than your exhale, you're going up. Box breathing is great because it's easy to remember. It's a box. It's got 4 sides. 4, 4, 4, 4. That's the count, and it's great. But if you work with if just go with me here. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2. Do 4 rounds of that and you'll be in a calm state. If you're having a hard time sleeping, 4, 7, 8 breathing. It's called the whiskey breath. It's called that because you will fall asleep. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, exhale for a count of 8. Please do not do this while you're driving. But that clarity breath, you can do sitting at your desk, you can do sitting in traffic, you can do standing, walking, whatever. Do it whenever you're thinking. And that's like I call it like a water type of breath. Like you can do it any time of the day. It just keeps you regulated. It just keeps you in a good place. As far as like really good uh, practices going on, I recommend doing Wim Hof breathing every day. 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing first thing in the morning. Look, your brain will track and will follow whatever squirt of dopamine you give it first thing in the morning. And if that's news or social media or meditation or breath work or whatever, your brain will chase whatever squirt of dopamine you give it first thing in the morning. Give it something great. And like 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing. I'm not a Wim Hof certified guy. I'm not going to get into his thing. I do Wim Hof every day. I love it. I think it's great. He's got a very, very approachable, usable, immediately accessible process that does great. And then I do flow state breath work, which is very different. It's a longer form of breath work, and the breath work that I teach, the breath work that I facilitate, specifically drops people into flow state or transient hypofrontality. It is a heightened cognitive state. You can move through emotion, you can move through old trauma, you can move through stuck energy, and that's the breath work that I do. And you could do this 2, 3 times a week. There have been people who've been doing it with me a few times a week now for years, and it's amazing.
Yeah, no, and the breathing is so fundamental to our lives. And the one thing when it comes to breath work that always amazes me is, just like drinking water, we need to breathe, right? Without breathing, we can't live. It is so fundamental and so basic, and yet most people don't understand it. There's so many things that you can tweak and improve about your breathing, which is so basic and fundamental to our human existence. It's fascinating. But you're right. The exhalation is where the parasympathetic system gets activated, which is why you want to prolong the exhale and over the inhale. On the inhale, the sympathetic system gets activated. So, yeah. So I like that tweak to the box breathing with your clarity breath, because the exhale is longer than the inhales. So I love that. So who do you do this breath work with? Like who are your clients? Who should reach out to you?
Anybody. So the the way the way a lot of people get introduced to me is somebody says, "Oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel and I have no idea what to do." And then somebody who knows me goes, "I got a guy you should talk to." Right. So it really is for anybody. If I have public breathwork sessions twice a week, every week. There's one on Thursday evenings. It is on Zoom. It is for women and female identifying persons only. 7 p.m. Pacific on Thursday evenings, and Saturday morning, 10 a.m., open to everybody. It is a hybrid session, meaning you could join us through Zoom or you can join us live in Highland Park at the Scribble community. And you can come in, you can lay down your yoga mat, and you can do this breath work live. All through the pandemic, I was giving away breath work twice a week for free on Zoom. We had this huge sort of global following, people who would join us every single time from all over the world, and it was great. And we have we've moved on a little bit from that, but the Thursday and the Saturday are always open. I'm traveling the last 3 weeks of March. I'll be teaching breathwork in Bali in March, and so I won't be around to teach breathwork. And the time change is just it's too radical to try to work it out. Uh, but the first 2 weeks of March, and then begin again in April. We are on Zoom twice a week and live once a week here in Northeast Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that even you have that hybrid approach where people can show up in person or remotely, because from wherever they are. But I'm curious, why is the Thursday session only for women and female identifying individuals? There's something specifically different about the female physiology that sets them apart from the male physiology?
Not at all. It's the exact same session. Uh, the the birth of that session, when I was doing it before I even became a breathwork facilitator, I was attending everybody's breathwork, every YouTube, every $20 at a yoga studio, like every Zoom session, everything I could put my hands on, different breathwork, Wim Hof, pranayama, holotropic, all this kind of crazy stuff. The number of really great breathwork teachers that are out there is incredible. Um, uh, I like to think myself as a really great one, but there are lots of really great ones that I love and I have tremendous amount of respect for. And we went to sessions. There's breath work for everything. There's breath work for athletes and breath work for entrepreneurs and breath work for this and that and groups and stress resistance. And my wife, the most patient human being in the world, I'm dragging her to all of these breathwork sessions everywhere. She's like, "There's no breathwork for women." And in our household, a couple of serial entrepreneurs, in our household, if we can't find something that we want, we just build it. Maybe it's out there, maybe it's not, but if it's not immediately available, we just build it. And the the breathwork for women has been an incredible opportunity for me to facilitate, to hold space as a man. I'm gonna get real personal here. It is where most of my insecurity lies. In that, one of my most deeply held beliefs is the last thing that anybody in this world needs is one more like white bearded tattooed 40 somethings guy telling anybody how to be, what to do, how to think, what, like nobody who looks like this has any business like telling people what to do, right? Or what to think or how to be. And so that's where all of my insecurity lies. In it's an honor to facilitate for members of the BIPOC community. It's an honor to facilitate for women, and the my friends in the rainbow community, and know like that's where my insecurity is. It's just the deepest. And most of my clients are now women. The people that I speak to the most are women. The people I facilitate for the most are women. Many of my clients are members of the rainbow community. Just last year, I had the opportunity to facilitate a rainbow wedding. I got to officiate a wedding between two women, both with families, and it was this like it was such a huge honor. And so it began as something that my wife wanted and wasn't seeing that we had. And I got to learn how to move through my own insecurity using the breath and just hold space for women as I'm the holder of the container. They're doing the work. They're creating the energy. They're creating the connections and everything else. And I'm just the guy holding the container. And it is an absolute honor, and the energy in that session every week is unreal.
That's fantastic. I love that. I truly do. So let me. I want to ask you some questions about you that actually are out of my networking book that I wrote a few months ago. And actually, I actually want to ask you some questions from the next edition because I think they're more interesting for this conversation. So the first question is. Where is your thinking place? Where do your best ideas come from?
My best ideas, they come from they come from a meditative place after breath work. They come from, because I do my own breath work. I take my own medicine. I get it, as much of it as I can. But my best ideas come from either my morning walks. I'm up at 5 and I do a walk first thing every morning before coffee, before anything else, uh, and and I go on a morning walk and I put my headphones in and I just kind of listen to the nothing. I listen to like either like ambient sounds or singing bowls, and I get low angle sun on my skin. If you pay attention much to Andrew Huberman, he talks a lot about that. And I just walk, and that's where a lot of it comes from. Getting quiet, slowing the breath, getting quiet, meditation, or doing really radical exercise, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, a really tough workout, and then meditate immediately after. Like go to a quiet place in your heart, in your head, and just sit there and listen, observe what comes up. And when you kind of drive all your systems up, and then you have an opportunity to sit quietly and just observe what comes up. Writing is the most important thing that you can do beyond anything. I tell everybody every time I speak, if you were to add three, the highest leverage, lowest cost things that you can do that will have the deepest impact is add breath work, add meditation, and add journaling. And if you can do those things every day, you will be a different person in 60 days, and in 6 months your life will be unrecognizable.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. All right. Switching tunes back to the food, I do want to ask you this question. What's a food that you really enjoy, but you think that others might find odd?
As a guy who spent most of my life in fine dining, I don't go to restaurants at all. Most of what unless I'm cooking for myself, I mostly eat street food. The the street food scene in Los Angeles is absolutely world class, and I mean like Malaysia, Singapore, world class street food. The tacos here are unreal. Uh, so the thing that most people, in terms of food, don't expect from me is my deep and abiding love for Los Angeles and really global street food. You know, we're going to Bali and Singapore, and I cannot wait for like the hawker markets and the warung all over Bali.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good to know. Next time I'm in LA, I gotta hit you up so you can show me all the good places to get some good street food. All right, my last question for you. This is the weirdest question I've ever come up with, but I kind of love it. So that's why I keep asking it. Would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
A dog all day, every day. I'm a dog guy. I have a 100 pound pit bull. I like I am. I'll take a dog that meows all day long. I am nothing against cats. Cats aren't going to get any hate from me. Cat people aren't going to get any hate from me. But I am very much a dog guy, and my in addition to serving other humans, petting all the dogs is like top three lifetime goals.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's therapeutic right there. That activity in and of itself. All right. So this next question comes from Brian Reinfuse. So every guest gets to ask the next guest on the show a question, not knowing who that person is or when we're going to record. So this question comes from Brian Reinfuse, who wants to know, out of all the gifts you have, which one can you use to change the world the most?
Of all the gifts that I have, which one can I use to change the world the most? I am going to say it is my gift of optimism. And optimism, if you hear Simon Sinek talks a lot about the difference between positivity and optimism. And positivity just paints everything with a sunny brush. Everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Optimism allows this moment and this climate and this whatever not to be fine. Like it is not fine. I recognize it is not fine, and I absolutely refuse to believe that it's not going to be. Right? I believe in humans. I believe in our society. I believe in our ability as a people. As much division, you and I are both in America, and so we that's the sort of the lens that we have right now, and it's very very polarized. It's very divided. There's and it feels very like you're either way 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 over here, you're way 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 over there, and there's even a suspicion of the people who won't claim to be either way way over here, way way over there. As the moment you're like, well, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, what are you getting at now? Like, what is that? Because is this okay? Is that it? So my belief in us as a species, my belief in a post competitive world. We don't Humans don't need to compete with each other anymore to make the lives of not only all people but all animals better, to make the world healthier, our planet healthier. I believe in it so much. I am what is called a prime nurturer. Like I feed things. It's what I do. I did it for years and years and years. I fed things with food. I now just do it in a different way, but I nurture organisms. It's what I do. And I do it because I believe in us. I believe there is a brighter future for us, and that does not negate the fact that things are really challenging right now, that things are tragic and they're hard. And we're looking at a geopolitical situation right now that is heartbreaking in so many ways. We're looking at a climate that's going to take care of us. I mean, like for sure. Like, well, okay, if we don't solve the problem, it will solve the problem of us. And but I believe in us. I have to, because I can't breathe if I don't. I can't breathe if I don't believe that we can move forward as a people, as a society, and as a planet.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That resonates with me on so many levels. And I also like how you mentioned you can't breathe if we can't move forward as a society. I mean, you bring that breath work right in there.
Right in,
I
right
love
in.
that.
No, it's,
That's perfect.
yeah. The whole point is, you can go a few weeks without food, you can go a few days without water, you can only go for a few minutes without the breath. And so when we connect to the breath, when we connect to the very center pillar of life, we find ourselves in a crazy, clear, deep connected place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. All right, speaking of connection, it's now your turn to ask the next guest any question you like.
The question is why is it important? Tell me why it's important. Why is this so important to you? Whatever they're talking about, whatever their jam is, whatever their special sauce, whatever their music is, why is that for them? Why is that important? I know why my stuff is important, and I love hearing why somebody else's jam is important.
That's awesome. Well, I'll be sure to ask the next guest. I don't know when that's going to happen or who it is, but I got it written down, so I'll be sure to pass that question on. And whenever your episode comes out, make sure you listen to the next one to hear the answer and who it is.
I can't wait.
How can people how can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you? How can they work with you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me uh, is through social media. Dave G Limitless, Dave G Limitless, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I have a very small TikTok presence and I think I have a Twitter account. Uh, but become-limitless.com. Become-limitless.com is my website. It is the best way to get a hold of me. And but I'm easy to find on social media, either Become Limitless or Limitless Flow Breathwork.
That's fantastic. I'll make sure all those links are in the description below. So anybody who does want to work with you, reach out to you, connect with you, they can do so more easily. Dave, it's been absolutely stunning conversation. I mean, we touched about so many just awesome topics. My head is honestly kind of spinning, and I probably gonna need to do some breath work to calm me down after this.
Let's do it.
Any last words from you? Any last words from you to the world?
You got this. We're so often filled with sent messages of fear. You got this. Slow down. Breathe. Clarity is everything. Slow down. Breathe. You got this.
Clarity is everything. I love that. That's fantastic. Well, on that note, we're going to end it right here. Thanks again for being here. This was awesome. I truly love this conversation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for playing a part. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as well, brother. Thank you so much. It's a huge honor to be a part of this, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed that. The questions that I asked towards the end are from my new book, The Simple Networking Tool. It's a great book that redefines how we network. It's all about who someone is and not what they are. So if you want to get your own book, it's available on Amazon. If you want to learn more, there's videos about it here on YouTube. So you can check out this amazing new social science experiment. I'm so excited for it. If you do get a book and you do start your own, please let me know how it goes and what your experience is like. I'm working on the second edition and I want to make it the best one yet. So be sure to tag me, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.